She found him bleeding in the alley behind her bakery. Just a boy, terrified and begging her not to call anyone. So she didn't. What she didn't know, the teenager she hid in her back room was a Mafia boss's son, and saving him would pull her and her daughter into a war they never saw coming. The bread wasn't going to bake itself. Mira Chin pulled her jacket tighter against the biting November wind as she hurried down Maple Street at 4:30 in the morning. Most of Chicago was still asleep, but bakery owners didn't get that luxury. The sourdough needed 3 hours to rise properly, and her regulars would start lining up by 7. Her phone buzzed. Another text from her ex-husband's lawyer about missed child support payments. She shoved it back in her pocket without reading the rest. Some problems could wait until after the croissants were in the oven. The alley behind Sweet Haven Cafe was her usual shortcut. Mira had walked this path 1,000 times, knew every pothole and graffiti tag by heart. But this morning, something was different. At first, she thought it was just trash bags someone had dumped illegally again. Then she saw the hand. Oh God. Myra's breath caught in her throat. A boy, maybe 16 or 17, lay crumpled behind her dumpster like a broken doll. His dark hair was matted with blood, his expensive-looking jacket torn and stained. Even in the dim streetlight, she could see the purple bruises blooming across his pale face. She fumbled for her phone, fingers shaking. Her first instinct was 911, but then she froze. The boy's eyes fluttered open for just a second, unfocused and desperate. "No police," he rasped, his voice barely audible.
Please, don't.
Then his eyes rolled back, and he went limp again. Myra's heart hammered against her ribs. Every sensible bone in her body screamed to call for help, to let professionals handle this. But something in that desperate plea stopped her. She'd seen that kind of fear before, the kind that came from something worse than whatever had put him in this alley. She pressed 2 fingers against his neck. Weak pulse, but steady. He was freezing though, his skin like ice under her touch. Okay, think, she muttered to herself. She tried calling Dr. Sarah Kim, her friend who sometimes traded medical advice for free pastries. Straight to voicemail. Of course, Sarah worked night shifts at County General and would be in surgery. Mira looked at the boy again. He couldn't be much older than her daughter Lily would be in a few years. Someone's son, lying in an alley like garbage. The decision made itself. "This is either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever done," she whispered. At 5'3" and 115 pounds, Mira wasn't built for heroics. But desperation gave her strength she didn't know she had. She managed to hook her arms under the boy's shoulders and drag him the 15 feet to her cafe's back door. Getting him up the 2 steps nearly killed her. Her lower back screamed in protest, and she had to stop twice to catch her breath. The boy groaned once, but didn't wake. The back room of Sweet Haven was cramped, just enough space for storage shelves, a small desk, and the ancient cot she kept for the rare occasions she worked through the night. Mira managed to wrestle the boy onto it, then locked both the back door and the one leading to the main cafe. Under the fluorescent lights, he looked even worse. The blood came from a gash above his left eyebrow, and his knuckles were torn and swollen like he'd been in a fight. But what caught her attention were his clothes. That jacket probably cost more than her monthly rent. The watch on his wrist looked real, too. Expensive. "What were you running from?" she asked the unconscious boy. She grabbed the first aid kit from under her desk, the one she kept for kitchen accidents. Her hands moved on autopilot, cleaning the head wound as gently as she could. It didn't look deep enough for stitches, thank God. She wrapped it with gauze, then covered him with the emergency blanket she kept in the storage closet. The boy stirred, mumbling something she couldn't make out. His hand shot out suddenly, grabbing her wrist with surprising strength. "Don't let them find me," he gasped, eyes still closed. "They'll kill everyone." "Sure you're safe," Mira said, though she had no idea if that was true. "Just rest." His grip loosened, and he sank back into unconsciousness. Mira sat back on her heels, reality crashing down on her. She had a bleeding teenager hidden in her cafe, no idea who he was or who was looking for him, and a business to run in less than 2 hours. "What have I done?" she whispered. But even as the question left her lips, she knew she'd make the same choice again. She'd spent the last 5 years building a life for herself and Lily after her marriage fell apart. She knew what it felt like to be desperate, to need help and have nowhere to turn. She pulled out her phone and finally read that text from her ex's lawyer. They wanted to reduce his child support by another 30%. Her throat tightened, but she blinked back the angry tears. Not now. She had bigger problems. The boy's breathing had evened out. That was good. Mira grabbed an extra apron from the shelf and stuffed it under his head as a makeshift pillow. Then she did something that would have made her daughter laugh. She tucked the blanket around him like she used to do when Lily was small and scared of thunderstorms. "Whoever you are," she said softly, "I hope you're worth the trouble." She stood, wincing at her protesting back, and headed into the main cafe. The bread still needed to be baked. Life didn't stop for mysteries, even ones bleeding in your back room. As she measured out flour and checked her yeast, Mira tried to convince herself everything would be fine. She'd patch the kid up, he'd tell her what happened, and maybe she'd even get a good explanation. By tomorrow, this would just be a crazy story to tell Lily someday. But deep in her gut, where a mother's instincts lived, she knew better. The moment that boy stumbled into her alley, her life had changed. She just didn't know how much yet. The morning rush hit Sweet Haven Cafe like it always did, a blur of coffee orders, warm pastry bags, and the constant ding of the register. Mira smiled and chatted with her regulars on autopilot, but her mind kept drifting to the locked door behind the counter. Was he still breathing? Had she made a terrible mistake? "Mom, you okay? You've been weird all morning." Mira jumped, nearly dropping Mrs. Patterson's latte. Her daughter Lily stood in the doorway, backpack slung over one shoulder, her dark hair pulled into a messy ponytail. 13 years old and too observant for her own good.
I'm fine, sweetie.
Just tired, Mira forced brightness into her voice. "Shouldn't you be at school?" "It's Saturday," Mom. Lily raised an eyebrow. "Remember? I'm helping you today."
Right.
Saturday. Myra's exhausted brain struggled to keep track. She'd been up since 4:30, running on anxiety and caffeine. "Of course. Can you handle the register for a few minutes? I need to check inventory in the back." Lily's eyes narrowed with suspicion, but she nodded and took her position behind the counter. Mira slipped through the door to the back room, locking it behind her. The boy was awake. He sat up on the cot, wild-eyed and disoriented, his hand pressed against the bandage on his head. When he saw Mira, he scrambled backwards so fast he nearly fell off the cot. Hey, it's okay." Mira raised her hands. "You're safe. I found you in the alley. You were hurt." "Where am I?" His voice cracked. Up close and conscious, he looked younger than she'd thought. Maybe 16 at most, with sharp features and eyes that darted around the room like a trapped animal searching for exits. "My cafe. Sweet Haven on Maple Street." Mira kept her voice soft, the same tone she used when Lily had nightmares.
I'm Mira.
"What's your name?" The boy's jaw clenched. "I can't tell you that." "Okay," Mira didn't push. "Can you tell me what happened to you?"
No.
"Can you tell me who's looking for you?" His face went white. "How did you?" "You begged me not to let them find you." Multiple times, Mira crossed her arms. "Look, I want to help, but I need to know what I'm dealing with here. Are you in some kind of trouble? Do your parents know where you are?" The boy laughed, but it was hollow and bitter, a sound too old for his face. "My parents." "Yeah, that's the problem." Before Mira could respond, he swung his legs off the cot and tried to stand. His knees buckled immediately. Mira caught him before he hit the floor, staggering under his weight. "Whoa, easy. You probably have a concussion. You need to rest." "I need to leave," but even as he said it, his body betrayed him. He was shaking, whether from cold or shock or fear. Mira couldn't tell. "You don't understand. If they find me here, they'll hurt you. They'll hurt anyone who helped me. Who's they? The boy looked at her with ancient, exhausted eyes. You don't want to know. Trust me. A knock on the door made them both freeze. Mom, Lily's voice came through. There's someone asking about the back room. Says they heard noise. Myra's heart stopped. I'll be right there, honey. She turned to the boy, whose face had gone from pale to gray. Stay here. Don't make a sound. Please, he whispered. Don't tell them I'm here. Please. Mira grabbed a box of napkins from the shelf, a flimsy excuse for being back here, but it would have to do. She unlocked the door and slipped out, making sure to block any view inside. A man stood at the counter, mid-40s, wearing a suit too nice for this neighborhood. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Sorry to bother you, he said smoothly. I'm looking for my nephew. He ran away last night. Teenager, dark hair, about this tall? He held up his hand. His mother's worried sick. Mira felt Lily watching her, felt the weight of the lie she was about to tell. Haven't seen anyone like that.
Saw the
man's smile tightened. You sure? We heard he might be in this area. If you see him, here's my card. He placed it on the counter. There's a reward for information. $5,000. $5,000. Myra's brain automatically calculated what that could mean. 3 months of rent, Lily's braces, the broken oven finally fixed. I'll keep an eye out, she heard herself say. The man lingered for another moment, his gaze sweeping the cafe like he was memorizing every detail. Then he nodded and left. Mira waited until his car pulled away before she allowed herself to breathe. Mom, what's going on? Lily demanded. You're acting really strange. It's nothing, sweetie. There's someone in the back room, isn't there? Lily's voice dropped to a whisper. I heard voices. Myra's first instinct was to lie. But Lily deserved better than that.
Yes, a boy.
He's hurt and he's scared, and he needs help. Is he dangerous? Mira thought about those desperate, frightened eyes.
No.
I don't think so. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she reached into her backpack and pulled out a blue knitted scarf, something she'd made herself in her crafts class, still slightly uneven but made with care. Give him this. It's cold in that back room. Myra's throat tightened. Lily, if he needs help, we help him. That's what you always taught me, right? Mira pulled her daughter into a fierce hug, wondering when she'd gotten so brave, so kind. She'd just hoped that kindness wouldn't destroy them both. The afternoon sun did nothing to warm the chill that had settled in Myra's bones. She'd spent the last 3 hours jumping at every shadow, watching every customer who walked through the door with suspicion. The boy, still nameless, had eaten the sandwich she'd brought him and fallen back asleep, wrapped in Lily's blue scarf. Mom, the trash is overflowing, Lily called from behind the counter. Mira glanced at the industrial-sized bags piled near the back door. She'd been putting off taking them out all day, reluctant to leave the cafe's relative safety. But the smell was getting noticeable, and the health inspector's last visit had come with enough warnings. I've got it. Mira grabbed the bags, checking her pocket for her keys. Watch the front. Obviously, Lily was already rearranging the pastry display, humming to herself. The alley looked different in daylight, less menacing, just another narrow Chicago back street lined with dumpsters and fire escapes. Mira hauled the first bag to the dumpster, grimacing at the weight. She should have broken these into smaller loads. She was wrestling with the second bag when she heard the voices. Boss is losing his mind. Never seen him like this. Mira froze, the trash bag slipping from her hands. 2 men stood at the mouth of the alley, both wearing long black coats despite the mild weather. One was tall and broad-shouldered, the other shorter with a scar running down his left cheek. They hadn't noticed her yet, too absorbed in their conversation. Can you blame him? Scarface said, pulling out his phone. The kid's been missing 18 hours. Anything could have happened. If word gets out that Victor D'Amato can't even protect his own son, every crew in the city will see it as weakness. Myra's breath caught.
Victor D'Amato.
She knew that name, Everyone in Chicago did, even if they pretended not to. The kind of name that appeared in newspaper articles with words like alleged and suspected ties to organized crime, the kind of name people whispered about but never said too loud. The boy in her back room was a mob boss's son. "Show the photo to everyone on this block," the tall one ordered.
Someone had to see something.
Scarface pulled out a photograph and started walking toward the shops. Towards Sweet Haven. Mira didn't think. She grabbed her trash bags and bolted back inside, locking the door behind her with shaking hands. Her heart pounded so hard, she thought it might burst through her ribs. "Mom?" Lily looked up, concerned. "You look like you've seen a ghost."
I've fine.
"Just stay inside. Don't go near the windows."
What? Why? The cafe door chimed.
Both men walked in. Mira forced herself to smile, to move behind the counter like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't just heard them talking about their boss, about the missing boy currently sleeping 20 feet away. "Welcome to Sweet Haven. What can I get you?" Scarface smiled, but it was all teeth and no warmth. "Actually, we're looking for someone." A teenage boy, dark hair, about 16. "Goes by Adrian." He held up his phone, showing a professional photograph. The boy from her back room, but cleaned up, wearing a suit, looking uncomfortable at some formal event. "Adrian. Finally, a name." "Have you seen him?" the tall one pressed. "He might be hurt, disoriented." Mira kept her face neutral, every muscle screaming at her to run.
No, sorry.
"We've been pretty busy today, but I would have noticed a teenager alone." "You sure?" Scarface's eyes narrowed. "This is important. His family is very worried." "I'm sure. Like I told that other man this morning." "What other man?" Both men tensed. Myra's stomach dropped. Wrong thing to say. Someone else came by earlier, asking about a missing nephew. Mid-40s, nice suit. The two men exchanged a look that made Myra's blood run cold. "That wasn't one of ours," the tall one said quietly. Scarface's hand moved to his coat pocket. "What did you tell him?" "Nothing. Just that I hadn't seen anyone." Myra's voice came out higher than she intended. "He left a card, but I threw it away." The lie came easily, born from pure survival instinct. That card was actually tucked in her apron pocket, but these men didn't need to know that. "If you see the boy," Scarface said, his voice dropping to something cold and dangerous, "you call this number immediately. Don't talk to anyone else. Don't call the police. Just us. Understand?" He placed a different card on her counter. Plain white, just a phone number embossed in black. "And lady." The tall one leaned forward. "This is important. The boss doesn't get his son back today. This whole city burns. You don't want to be anywhere near that fire." They left without buying anything. Mira waited until their car pulled away before she allowed herself to collapse against the counter, her legs suddenly unable to hold her weight. "Mom, what's happening?" Lily's voice trembled. "Who were those men?" "Go upstairs to the apartment."
Now.
"But..." "Now, Lily." Her daughter fled, tears starting in her eyes. Mira felt like the worst mother in the world, but better Lily's feelings hurt than both of them dead. She locked the cafe's front door and flipped the sign to closed, ignoring the confused looks from pedestrians outside. Then she marched to the back room and threw open the door. Adrian jerked awake, still clutching Lily's scarf. "We need to talk," Mira said, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins.
"Right now."
"Because there are at least 2 different groups of people looking for you, and one of them just threatened to burn down the city. So you're going to tell me everything, Adrian D'Amato, or I'm calling that number they left and you can explain yourself to your father." Adrian's face crumpled, all his defenses falling away. "If you do that," he whispered, "I'm dead within a week." Myra's apartment above the cafe was small. 1 bedroom that Lily claimed and a pull-out couch in the living room where Mira slept. It wasn't much, but it was theirs, earned through 16-hour days and endless determination after the divorce. Now she was sneaking a Mafia boss's son through her own back stairs. "This is insane," she muttered, half to herself. half to Adrian as she helped him up the narrow stairwell. He was steadier on his feet now, but still moved like every step hurt. Lily waited at the top, her eyes red from crying. When she saw Adrian, she stepped back instinctively. "It's okay," Mira said softly. "This is Adrian. Adrian, my daughter Lily." "I'm sorry," Adrian said immediately. "I never meant I should go. I'll leave, and you'll never see me again." "Sit," Mira pointed to the couch. Her voice left no room for argument. "We're past the point of you disappearing into the night. Those men will come back. More will come. And if they find out I helped you, and then you vanished, what do you think happens to us?" Adrian's face went pale. He sank onto the couch, and Lily perched on the armchair across from him, watching him like he might explode. Mira stood in the middle of her tiny living room, arms crossed. "Talk. Everything. Starting with why Victor D'Amato's son is running from his own father." Adrian was quiet for so long, Mira thought he might refuse. Then he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not running from my dad. I'm running from whoever wants me dead." Explain. 3 nights ago, I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs to get water, and I heard voices in my father's study. The door was cracked open, Adrian's hands twisted together in his lap. It was Marcus Santoro, my dad's advisor. He's been with our family for 20 years. My dad trusts him with everything. And, Mira prompted. He was on the phone with someone, talking about a shipment that was supposed to arrive next week. But it wasn't drugs or guns or whatever you're thinking. Adrian looked up, his eyes haunted. It was federal evidence, documents that could put my father away for life. Marcus was selling him out to the Volkov family in exchange for control of our territory. The name sent a chill down Myra's spine. Even she knew about the Volkovs, the Russian syndicate that had been pushing into Chicago for the last 2 years, leaving bodies in their wake. Then Marcus said something else, Adrian continued. He said, "The boy is a problem. Victor's going soft because of him. We need to handle it before the transfer," and I realized he meant me. "So you ran," Lily said quietly. Adrian nodded. "I tried to leave through the back gate, but 2 of Marcus's men were waiting. They grabbed me, dragged me to a car. Said they were taking me somewhere quiet," his voice cracked. "I managed to fight back, broke a window, and jumped out while the car was moving. They chased me for blocks. I thought I lost them, but then everything went black. Next thing I remember is waking up in your cafe." Mira sank into the chair beside Lily, her mind racing. "Why didn't you just tell your father?" "Because I don't know who else is working with Marcus." Adrian's voice rose, desperate. "What if I call my dad, and someone intercepts it? What if there are more traitors? Marcus has been in our family for 20 years. If my dad trusted him, he could be trusting others who want him dead." "That man who came this morning," Mira said slowly. "The one asking about his nephew. That wasn't your father's people. Probably Volkov's crew, checking if anyone found me." Adrian pulled Lily's scarf tighter around his shoulders. "They want me dead before I can talk. Marcus wants me dead to tie up loose ends. And my father," his voice broke. "My father probably thinks I ran away like some stupid kid. He doesn't know I'm trying to save his life." The room fell silent except for the ticking of Myra's ancient wall clock. "This is way bigger than I thought," Mira said finally. "I'll leave tonight," Adrian said. "I'll figure something out. You've already done too much." "And go where?" Mira challenged. "You can barely walk. You have no money, no phone, and half the city is looking for you. How far do you think you'll get?" Adrian had no answer. Lily spoke up, her voice small but steady. "What if we call his dad? But like, privately. So no one else knows." "Too risky," Adrian said immediately. "What about the police?" Lily tried again. Adrian laughed bitterly. "Half the force is on various family payrolls. I report this to the wrong cop. I'm dead by morning." Mira pressed her fingers to her temples, feeling a headache building. This morning she'd been worried about flower suppliers and her ex-husband's lawyer. Now she was harboring a fugitive from a mob war. "Okay," she said, though nothing about this was okay. "You stay here tonight. Tomorrow, we figure out how to contact your father safely. But Adrian, she fixed him with her sternest mom look. If you're lying to me, if this is some scheme or you're actually the bad guy here, I will make you regret ever stumbling into my alley. Clear? Crystal. Good. Lily, get him a pillow and blanket. Adrian, you sleep on the couch. I'll take the floor. You don't have to. My apartment, my rules. As Lily went to gather bedding, Adrian looked at Mira with something like wonder. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me.
Mira thought about that.
About all the times she'd needed help after her divorce and found only closed doors. About the shame of asking and the dignity of being seen. Because someone's son is in trouble, she said simply. And I'd hope someone would do the same for Lily. Outside, the city continued its evening routine, unaware that in a small apartment above a bakery cafe, 3 people were about to change everything. Morning came too soon, and with too little sleep, Mira jolted awake to the sound of car doors slamming on the street below. Multiple car doors. She scrambled to the window, careful to stay hidden behind the curtain. Her heart stopped. 4 black SUVs lined Maple Street, parked at angles that blocked traffic in both directions. Men in dark suits stood at intervals along the sidewalk, their presence making early morning pedestrians cross to the other side of the street. And walking towards Sweet Haven's front door was a man who could only be Victor D'Amato. He was in his late 40s, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Myra's car. His hair was silver at the temples, his face carved from stone. Even from the second floor, Mira could feel the authority radiating off him, the kind of power that made entire rooms fall silent.
Adrian.
Adrian, wake up. Mira shook the boy's shoulder. He woke with a gasp, instinctively raising his arms to protect his face. When he saw it was just Mira, he relaxed slightly. What? Your father's here. Downstairs. Right now. All color drained from Adrian's face.
No.
No, no, no. Lily, stay up here. Lock the door behind us. Mira grabbed Adrian's arm, pulling him toward the stairs. You want to save your father? Now's your chance. You don't understand if Marcus has people with him. Then we deal with it. But we're not hiding anymore. That ship has sailed. They made it downstairs just as Victor's fist connected with the cafe's glass door for the 3rd time. The sound echoed like thunder. Mira unlocked it with shaking hands. Victor D'Amato filled the doorway like a storm about to break. Up close, she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the stubble on his jaw, signs of a man who hadn't slept. Behind him, 4 armed men fanned out, their hands resting on concealed weapons. You're Mira Chin, it wasn't a question. Victor's voice was gravelly, dangerous. Owner of this establishment. I am. Then you know why I'm here. His eyes swept past her, searching. My son. I know you have him. Myra's mouth went dry. How did you? I own this city, Mrs. Chen. You think I don't have eyes everywhere? He pulled out his phone, showing her security footage, grainy but unmistakable. Her, dragging Adrian into the cafe's back door yesterday morning. You have 30 seconds to produce my son before I tear this place apart. Dad. The single word cut through the tension like a knife. Adrian stepped out from behind Mira, still clutching Lily's blue scarf. He looked small standing there, young and vulnerable in ways that made Myra's heart ache. Victor's stone facade cracked. For just a moment, Mira saw a raw relief flash across his face before the mask slammed back into place. Victor moved forward, but Adrian stepped back. Don't. I'm not going with you.
Victor froze.
What? If you take me back, I'll be dead within a week. Adrian's voice shook but held steady. Maybe less. What are you talking about? Victor's hand gestured sharply to his men. Someone explain what my son means. Marcus Santoro is planning to kill you, Adrian said in a rush. He's working with the Volkovs. I heard him 3 nights ago. He's selling federal evidence about your operations in exchange for territory. And I'm a loose end he needs to eliminate. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Victor's face transformed into something terrifying. Marcus, the name came out like a death sentence. He tried to have me killed, Dad. His men grabbed me. I barely got away. Adrian's words tumbled out faster now. I couldn't call you, because I don't know who else is compromised. I didn't know who to trust. So, you trusted her? Victor's gaze swung to Mira, who wished the floor would swallow her whole. A stranger? She saved my life. Adrian moved closer to Mira, and she realized with a start that he was positioning himself between her and his father. Protecting her. When I was dying in that alley, she didn't call the police or turn me in for a reward. She just helped me. No questions, no price. Victor studied Mira with those cold, calculating eyes. She forced herself not to look away, even though every survival instinct screamed at her to run. Is this true? Victor asked her. Everything he said. I only know what he told me, Mira said carefully. But yes, I found him in the alley. He was hurt and scared and begged me not to call anyone. So I didn't. And you expect nothing in return? I expect you to protect your son. Something shifted in Victor's expression. My men searched this entire neighborhood yesterday. Showed your picture to dozens of people. A young woman at the coffee shop 2 blocks down said she saw you carrying something heavy into your back door early yesterday morning. She thought it was strange. Myra's stomach dropped. She'd been so careful, but not careful enough. I was going to find you eventually, Mrs. Chen. Victor stepped closer, and Mira fought the urge to back away. The question is, what do I do with you now? You let her go. Adrian's voice was stronger now. She helped me because she's good, not because she wanted anything. You hurt her or her daughter, you'll never see me again. I swear it. The silence stretched impossibly long. Then Victor did something Mira never expected. He laughed. It was short and humorless, but genuine. My son, threatening me. Marcus was right about one thing. You have made me soft, he turned back to Mira. Pack bags for you and your daughter. You're coming with us. What? No. It's not a request, Victor's voice hardened. Adrian trusts you. That makes you valuable. But it also makes you a target. If the Volkovs learn you helped my son, they'll use you to get to him. Your only chance of survival is under my protection. Mira thought of Lily upstairs, probably listening to every word. How long? She asked. Until I root out every traitor in my organization. Victor checked his watch. Pack for a week. We leave in 10 minutes. He walked out, his men following, leaving Mira and Adrian standing in the wreckage of her normal life.
I'm sorry, Adrian whispered.
Mira wanted to be angry, wanted to scream at him for dragging her into this nightmare. But when she looked at his terrified face, all she could think was, at least Lily would still have a mother.
For now.
The safe house was nothing like Mira expected. She'd pictured something from the movies, a dingy warehouse or abandoned building with peeling paint and suspicious stains. Instead, Victor's SUV pulled up to a sprawling farmhouse 40 minutes outside Chicago, surrounded by cornfields and autumn trees. It looked peaceful, almost idyllic, except for the armed guards stationed at every entrance. This is a safe house? Lily whispered, gripping her hastily packed backpack. One of several, Victor emerged from the lead vehicle, surveying the property with practiced efficiency. No one outside my inner circle knows about this location. Marcus certainly doesn't. Mira helped Lily out of the SUV, her legs unsteady after the tense drive. The guards had followed them the entire way, and she'd counted at least 3 other vehicles trailing at a distance. Victor wasn't taking chances. Inside, the farmhouse was surprisingly comfortable. Warm hardwood floors, a kitchen that looked recently updated, bedrooms upstairs. Not luxurious, but certainly not a prison. The 2 of you take the room at the end of the hall, Victor instructed, nodding toward the stairs. Adrian, you're across from them. My men will be stationed throughout the property. You don't leave without an escort. You don't make phone calls. You don't contact anyone. Understood? For how long? Mira demanded, finding her voice. I have a business. Employees who depend on me. I can't just disappear. Your cafe is closed until further notice. I've placed men there to ensure no one damages your property. Victor's tone suggested the conversation was over. Your priority now is keeping my son safe. I didn't agree to be his babysitter.
No.
You agreed when you pulled him out of that alley. Victor moved closer, and Mira saw the exhaustion etched deeper now in the daylight. You're in this whether you like it or not, Mrs. Chen. The moment you involved yourself with my family, you became part of this war. Now you can either help me protect Adrian while I handle the traitors, or you can try to leave and see how long you survive. The threat hung in the air, unspoken but clear. Come on, Mom, Lily tugged her arm. Let's just go upstairs. Mira let herself be led away, feeling Victor's eyes on her back. Hours passed in strange, tense limbo. Lily explored their room, trying to make the best of it. Adrian disappeared into his room and didn't emerge. Mira sat on the bed, staring at the wall, wondering how her life had spiraled so completely out of control. Around 7, Victor knocked on their door. Downstairs.
Now.
We need to talk. The kitchen table was covered in documents, photographs, and a laptop displaying what looked like financial records. Victor stood at the head, his suit jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up. For the first time, he looked almost human, a man working a problem rather than a mob boss issuing orders. Adrian was already seated, looking smaller in the large farmhouse kitchen. Sit, Victor said. Mira and Lily took chairs across from Adrian. Victor remained standing, his hands braced on the table. I've spent the last 6 hours investigating Marcus Santoro's activities, Victor began without preamble. Bank records, phone logs, known associates. Adrian, tell me again exactly what you heard. Adrian repeated the story, more details emerging this time, dates, names of Volkov family members, the specific documents Marcus planned to hand over. Victor listened without interrupting, his face growing darker with each revelation. When Adrian finished, Victor was silent for a long moment. Marcus has been with me for 23 years, he said finally. He was at my wedding. He held Adrian when he was born, Victor's hand curled into a fist. And now I find out he's been planning to destroy everything I've built. You believe me then? Adrian asked quietly. Victor looked at his son, really looked at him, and something cracked in his expression. I believe you. The financial records support it. Marcus has been moving money through offshore accounts for months. Small amounts, nothing that raised flags, but consistent. And 3 days ago, he met with Dmitry Volkov at a restaurant downtown. He told me it was coincidental that Dmitry approached him. It wasn't coincidental, Adrian said.
No.
It wasn't. Victor's jaw clenched. The federal documents Marcus mentioned, I know which ones. Evidence from a RICO case that collapsed 5 years ago due to lost evidence. I had assumed it was destroyed. If the Volkovs have that and turn it over to a new prosecutor, I'm looking at 25 years minimum. Myra's head spun, trying to follow the implications. So, what do you do? Victor's eyes met hers, and she saw the cold calculation there. I remove the threat. You mean kill him, Lily said bluntly. Lily, Mira gasped. But Victor nodded.
Yes.
That's exactly what I mean. There has to be another way, Mira protested. Evidence, recordings, something. This isn't your world, Mrs. Chen. There are no lawyers here, no trials. Marcus betrayed my family. The penalty for that is death. It's always been death. Adrian flinched but didn't argue. This was the world he'd grown up in. But I can't move against him until I know who else is compromised, Victor continued. If I kill Marcus too soon, whoever he's working with goes underground. I need to flush them all out at once.
How?
Adrian asked. Victor's smile was sharp and dangerous. That's where you come in. Marcus thinks you're dead or running scared. We let him keep thinking that while I set a trap. I tell my inner circle that I've received intel about a Volkov shipment, something too valuable to resist. I make it look like I'm vulnerable, distracted by searching for you. And Marcus will make his move, Adrian finished.
Exactly.
But I need you hidden until then. If he sees you're alive and safe, the whole plan falls apart. Victor turned to Mira. That's why you're here. My men are loyal, but they talk. They gossip. If Adrian is at one of my known properties, word will spread. But here, with just you and your daughter, you're invisible. Nobody knows about you. So we're not prisoners, Mira said slowly. We're camouflaged. Smart woman, Victor almost smiled. Keep Adrian safe. Keep him calm. Let him be a normal kid for a few days while I burn out the rot in my organization. Do that, and when this is over, you and your daughter walk away untouched. You have my word. And your word means something? Mira challenged. Victor's expression hardened. In my world, Mrs. Chun, my word is everything. I may be many things, but I'm not a liar. The room fell silent. Outside, the sun was setting over the cornfields, painting everything gold. How long until your trap is set? Mira asked finally. 3 days. Maybe 4-inch. 3 days pretending this was normal. 3 days keeping a mafia boss's son entertained while his father orchestrated murders. Mira looked at Lily, who stared back with wide, frightened eyes. Then at Adrian, who looked like he might shatter at any moment.
Fine, Mira said.
3 days. But then we're done. We go home, and you forget we exist. Victor extended his hand across the table.
Deal.
Mira shook it, feeling like she'd just made a pact with the devil. Maybe she had. Day 1 at the safe house crawled by like a prison sentence. Mira spent most of it staring out windows, watching Victor's men patrol the perimeter. Lily withdrew into her phone until Victor's head of security, a stern woman named Rosa, confiscated it. No outside contact apparently meant exactly that. Adrian barely left his room. When Mira knocked to bring him lunch, he mumbled thanks through the door, but didn't open it. By day 2, Mira couldn't take the oppressive silence anymore. She found Adrian on the back porch after breakfast, sitting on the steps and staring at nothing. The autumn air was crisp, carrying the smell of dried corn and distant wood smoke. Mind if I sit? She didn't wait for an answer, settling beside him. You know, sulking in your room isn't going to make this easier. I'm not sulking. Adrian's voice was defensive. I'm just thinking. About your father? About how everything's falling apart because of me. Adrian picked at the wooden step. If I'd kept my mouth shut, if I hadn't eavesdropped, then your father would be walking into a trap, and you'd probably be dead. Mira interrupted. You did the right thing, Adrian. A scary, dangerous thing, but the right thing. Doesn't feel right, his voice cracked. Feels like I destroyed my family. Mira studied his profile, the sharp cheekbones, the shadows under his eyes. He looked like Lily did after the divorce, when she blamed herself for her father leaving. Your family was already broken if someone like Marcus could betray it, Mira said gently. You didn't cause that. You just exposed it. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Your daughter, Lily. She seems nice. Normal.
She is.
Too smart for her own good, but nice. What's that like? Being normal? The question was so wistful, so genuinely curious, that Myra's heart ached. It's messy, she admitted. Fights about homework and curfews. Worrying about bills. Making lunches at 6 a.m. and falling asleep on the couch during movies, she smiled. But it's ours. We built it ourselves after her father left. He left. 2 years ago. Decided being a husband and father was too boring compared to his 23-year-old secretary. Mira heard the bitterness in her own voice and tried to soften it. But we survived. We're better off, actually. Adrian nodded slowly. My mom died when I was 8. Cancer. I'm sorry. After that, it was just me and Dad. Except it wasn't really. There were always guards, advisors, business associates. People everywhere, but I was still alone, he looked at her. Is that weird? Being surrounded by people, but feeling completely alone. No, Mira said softly. That's not weird at all. The back door opened and Lily stepped out, carrying a mixing bowl and looking determined. Okay, this is ridiculous, she announced. We've been sitting around being miserable for 2 days. I'm bored, Mom's stress cooking in her head, and Adrian looks like a sad puppy. So we're baking. Baking? Adrian blinked.
Yes.
Mom's a professional baker. It's literally what she does. And this kitchen is actually decent. Lily thrust the bowl at Adrian. You're helping. Come on. I don't know how to bake. Then you'll learn. Mom, stop giving me that look. We need something normal to do, or we're all going to lose our minds. Mira found herself laughing, real laughter for the first time in days. She's not wrong. Come on, Adrian. Let's see if you can follow directions better than you can stay out of trouble. The kitchen became their sanctuary. Lily took charge with the confidence of a teenager who'd grown up in a bakery, pulling out ingredients and directing Adrian like a pint-sized drill sergeant. No, you need to crack the eggs one at a time, not bash them all together. Adrian, covered in flour and looking utterly bewildered, tried to follow her rapid-fire instructions. He broke 3 eggs before getting one cleanly into the bowl. How are you this bad at eggs? Lily demanded. They're eggs. I've never cooked before. We have people for that. Well, congratulations, you're people now. Try again. Mira watched them bicker over measuring cups and laughed harder than she had in months. Adrian was terrible at baking, managing to get butter in his hair somehow, but he kept trying, his earlier despair replaced by focus. Okay, now we fold in the flour, Mira instructed. Gently, you're not beating it to death.
I'm folding.
This is folding. That's stirring. Here, like this, she guided his hands, showing him the gentle motion.
See?
You want to keep the air in the batter. Adrian's tongue poked out slightly as he concentrated, and Mira saw glimpses of the child he must have been before violence and betrayal became his normal. They made chocolate chip cookies, slightly misshapen and burned on the bottom, but edible. While they cooled, Lily challenged Adrian to help her with algebra homework. Why would I know algebra? I haven't been to regular school in 3 years. You're 16 and you don't go to school? I have tutors. Private ones. That's so weird, but Lily scooted closer anyway, showing him the problems. Okay, so, if you isolate the variable. Mira left them at the kitchen table, heads bent together over the textbook, and stepped outside for air. Victor stood by one of the SUVs, phone pressed to his ear. When he saw her, he ended the call and approached. Your daughter is bossy, he observed. She gets it from me. Mira crossed her arms. Any news? The trap is set. I've leaked information about a weapons shipment coming through the docks tomorrow night. Marcus has already made contact with the Volkovs to plan an ambush. Victor's expression was unreadable. By this time tomorrow, this will be over. And then we can go home. Then you can go home. He glanced toward the kitchen window, where Adrian's laugh suddenly rang out, genuine and unburdened. He hasn't laughed like that in years. Maybe ever. He's a good kid, Mr. D'Amato. Scared and out of his depth, but good. I know, Victor's voice was rough. I failed him. Let men like Marcus close while I built an empire. Forgot what I was building it for, he looked at Mira. You gave him something in 3 days I couldn't give him in 16 years. What's that? Normal. Safe, Victor's jaw tightened. Thank you, Mrs. Chun. Before Mira could respond, he walked away, already making another call. Inside, Adrian was attempting to explain something about X-values, while Lily corrected him patiently. They'd moved past the homework to her phone photos. She must have convinced Rosa to give it back, showing him pictures of Sweet Haven, of her school, of her ordinary life. Tomorrow, Victor would spring his trap. Blood would be spilled, scores settled. But tonight, in this kitchen that smelled of burnt cookies and possibility, 3 people who shouldn't have been together laughed like family. It couldn't last. Mira knew that. She just hadn't expected to wish so desperately that it could. Morning of day 3 came with unexpected news. The situation is contained, Victor announced over breakfast, his phone still in hand. Marcus took the bait. My men intercepted the ambush at the docks last night. 3 Volkov enforcers are dead, and Marcus is currently restrained at one of my facilities awaiting conversation. Adrian's fork clattered against his plate. It's over? Almost. I need to verify Marcus was the only traitor, question him about any remaining contacts. Victor's expression was grim. But the immediate threat has passed. You're safe to return home, Mrs. Chen. Mira should have felt relief. Instead, a knot of anxiety twisted in her stomach. Just like that. Just like that, Victor stood, buttoning his suit jacket. I'll have men escort you back to the city. Your cafe has been untouched. I made sure of it. Consider your debt paid. We didn't have a debt, Mira said quietly.
No.
But I did. Victor's eyes met hers. Adrian will remain with me for now. There are still security protocols to observe. Across the table, Adrian and Lily exchanged glances. In 3 days, they'd formed an unlikely friendship, bonding over homework, baking disasters, and late-night conversations about normal teenage things. Now it was ending as abruptly as it began. Can I at least say goodbye? Lily asked.
Victor nodded.
You have 20 minutes. My men are already preparing the vehicles. The drive back to Chicago felt surreal. Mira watched the cornfields give way to suburbs, then city streets, like rewinding through a strange dream. Rosa drove in silence, 2 additional guards in a follow vehicle. Mom, Lily's voice was small. Is Adrian going to be okay? I think so. His father will protect him now. But who's going to make sure he laughs? Or teach him normal stuff? Mira didn't have an answer. They pulled up to Sweet Haven just after 10 a.m. The cafe looked exactly as she'd left it. Windows intact, door locked, even the chairs still stacked on tables from when she'd closed in a panic. We'll maintain a presence nearby for the next few days, Rosa said as Mira climbed out. Just as a precaution. You see anything suspicious, you call this number. She handed over a card. Mr. D'Amato's orders. Then they were gone, and Mira stood on her own sidewalk feeling like a stranger in her own life. Come on, sweetie. Let's get things opened up. Mira unlocked the front door, breathing in the familiar scent of her cafe, coffee beans, cinnamon, the faint sweetness of yesterday's pastries. I'll be upstairs, Lily said. I need to call Jenna. Tell her I'm not dead. Mira smiled weakly. Tell her you had the flu. Food poisoning. Anything but the truth. Obviously. I'm not stupid, Mom. Alone in her cafe, Mira began the routine of opening, checking equipment, taking inventory, preparing to resume normal life. Except nothing felt normal anymore. Her hands shook as she measured coffee beans. She jumped at every sound from the street. She was taking trash to the back alley, the same alley where this nightmare began, when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Need to check cafe basement. Possible gas leak reported by neighbor. Will arrive in 10 minutes. Building inspector. Mira frowned. She didn't have a basement and no neighbor had complained. But before she could respond, the back door clicked open behind her. Actually, I'm already here. Mira spun around. A man stood in her cafe's back room, late 30s, wearing maintenance coveralls that looked just slightly wrong. Too clean. Too new. Who are you? Myra's hand moved toward her phone. Don't. He pulled a gun from his coveralls, keeping it low but unmistakably pointed at her. We're going to have a quick conversation, Mrs. Chen, about where Victor D'Amato is keeping his son. Her blood turned to ice. I don't know what you're. Please don't insult me. You disappear for 3 days with the boy and Victor's men, then suddenly reappear this morning? He stepped closer. Marcus Santoro told us everything before he died, including the fact that you're the boy's new favorite babysitter. Marcus was dead. Victor had acted faster than Mira expected. I don't know where Adrian is, she said, voice steady despite her terror. Victor's men brought me home. They didn't tell me anything. Then call Victor. Tell him you need to see the boy. Family emergency, whatever. Get us a location. He won't tell me. Then you better hope he cares about your daughter upstairs. The man's smile was cold. Because if I don't get Adrian's location in the next 5 minutes, I'm going up those stairs. And Lily, that's her name, right? 13 years old, braces, loves to knit. Lily is going to have a very bad day. Myra's vision tunneled. Lily. He knew about Lily. Okay, her voice came out strangled. Okay, I'll call. Just don't hurt her. Please. Smart choice, he gestured with the gun. Make it convincing. Myra's hands trembled as she pulled out Victor's card, the one Rosa had given her. She dialed, praying someone was monitoring that Victor's precautions included more than just watching from a distance. The phone rang once.
Twice.
Then the lights went out. The man cursed, spinning toward the door. In the sudden darkness, Mira heard the distinctive sound of the cafe's front door crashing open, multiple footsteps rushing in.
Down.
Get down. Rosa's voice cut through the chaos. Mira dropped to the floor, covering her head. Gunshots, loud, impossibly loud in the confined space. Glass shattering. Someone screamed. Then silence. The emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in dim red. Rosa stood over the man in coveralls, who was face down on the floor with 2 guards restraining him. Blood pooled from his shoulder where he'd been shot. Clear? Rosa called out. She turned to Mira. You hurt. Mira shook her head, unable to speak. Lily. The name burst from her throat. She scrambled up, racing for the stairs, taking them 2 at a time. Her daughter sat on the couch, eyes wide, a female guard standing protectively in front of her. Mom. Lily launched herself into Myra's arms. They held each other, shaking, while downstairs Rosa coordinated cleanup and called Victor. We had the cafe under surveillance, Rosa explained later, after the man had been taken away and the shattered glass swept up. Spotted him approaching, but he moved faster than expected. We cut the power to disorient him before he could fire. He knew about Lily, Mira whispered. He knew her name, her age, everything. Volkov's crew did their homework. Rosa's expression was grim. This isn't over, Mrs. Chen. Marcus is dead, but the Volkovs want revenge. They'll keep coming until they find Adrian or make Victor suffer enough to satisfy their pride. Mira looked at her cafe, her dream, her life's work, now a crime scene. What do I do? She asked. Rosa's phone buzzed. She read the message, then looked at Mira with something almost like sympathy. Mr. D'Amato is on his way. He wants to discuss relocating you and your daughter somewhere safer. Relocating? The word felt heavy. For how long? Rosa didn't answer, which was answer enough. Mira sank into a chair, pulling Lily close. They'd saved Adrian, exposed the traitor, survived 3 days in a mob safe house. And somehow, the danger had only just begun. Victor arrived within the hour, his fury barely contained. They came to my son's protector, his voice was quiet, which somehow made it more terrifying. In broad daylight. In my city. He stood in Myra's cafe, surrounded by his men, looking at the bullet holes in her wall like they were personal insults. The Volkovs are escalating, Rosa reported. They know Marcus is dead. This was retaliation. Send a message that they can reach anyone connected to Adrian. Then we send a message back. Victor's hand clenched into a fist. I want.
His phone rang.
Everyone froze at the ringtone, some custom sound that made Victor's face go white. That's Adrian's emergency signal, he said, already answering. Adrian? Adrian. Static. Then a young voice, scared but trying to sound brave. Dad, they got me. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. The line cut off. Victor's stone facade shattered. For the first time since Mira met him, she saw raw terror in his eyes. Trace it, he barked at Rosa.
Now.
Rosa was already on her phone, coordinating with their tech team.
Working on it.
The call was short, maybe 30 seconds. How is this possible? Victor's voice rose. He was at the North Side estate with 12 guards. Sir, we're getting reports from the estate now. Another guard rushed in, tablet in hand. There was an explosion in the West Wing, gas leak, they think. In the confusion, someone grabbed Adrian from his room. 2 guards are dead, 3 injured. Victor looked like he might put his fist through the wall. The Volkovs. Has to be, Rosa confirmed. This was coordinated with the attack here. Split our focus. Hit both locations simultaneously. Why take him alive? Mira asked quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. If they wanted revenge, why not just kill him? Why the phone call? Victor's jaw tightened. Because Dmitry Volkov is old school. He believes in making examples. He'll broadcast Adrian's execution, make me watch, make the whole city watch. Show everyone that crossing the Volkovs has consequences. The room went cold. How long do we have? Rosa asked.
Hours.
Maybe less. Victor was already moving toward the door. Rosa, assemble every team. I want the Volkovs' known locations hit simultaneously. Every warehouse, every front business, every... Wait, Mira stood up. You're going to tear the city apart looking for him. Yes. That's what they want. You running around desperate, making mistakes. Myra's mind raced, piecing together everything she'd observed over the past 3 days. Adrian told me once that the Volkovs are new to Chicago. They don't have deep roots here like you do. Where would they take someone they want to keep hidden, but accessible for? For what they're planning? Victor stared at her. What are you thinking? They need somewhere isolated enough that nobody here screams, but close enough to the city that their people can get there quickly. Somewhere they control completely. Mira grabbed her phone, pulling up a map. What about industrial areas? Abandoned buildings they might have purchased through shell companies. Rosa caught on. The old West Side warehouses. The city condemned half of them 2 years ago, but the Volkovs have been buying property there through fronts. Which warehouse?
Victor demanded.
We have to check all of them. There are at least a dozen. I know which one, Lily said from the doorway. Everyone turned. She held up her phone, looking scared but determined. Adrian and we swapped numbers before you picked him up this morning. He sent me his location 30 seconds ago. Just coordinates, nothing else. She showed the screen. A pin on a map, marking a warehouse in the industrial district. Victor moved faster than Mira would have thought possible for a man his age. Rosa, full tactical team. 5 minutes. I'm coming with you, Mira said. Absolutely not. He trusts me. Myra's voice cut through Victor's objection. You storm in there with guns blazing, and he'll panic. You said yourself he's been traumatized, scared. He needs to see a familiar face, someone who won't make this worse. She's right, Rosa said quietly. The boy has been through hell. He sees 50 armed men. He might do something stupid trying to escape. Victor looked torn between fury and logic. Finally, he nodded.
Fine. But you follow my orders exactly.
If I tell you to run, you run. Understood. Understood. Mom, no. Lily grabbed her arm. You can't. What if they shoot you? Mira cupped her daughter's face. Baby, I have to. Adrian saved himself to protect his father, and now I need to help bring him home. She looked at Rosa. Keep Lily safe. Please. With my life. Rosa promised. The warehouse loomed against the evening sky like a metal skeleton. Victor's convoy approached with lights off, parking 3 blocks away to avoid detection. 6 men guarding the perimeter, Rosa reported, watching through binoculars. Probably more inside. They're expecting us, but not this quickly. Entry points. Victor checked his weapon with practiced efficiency. Main door is suicide, they'll have it covered. But there's a service entrance on the north side, partially hidden by old shipping containers. Looks like it hasn't been used in years. That's our way in, Victor turned to Mira. You stay behind me at all times. When we find Adrian, you talk to him, keep him calm. Then we extract. Clear? Mira nodded, her mouth too dry to speak. They moved through the industrial lot like shadows, Victor's men spreading out to neutralize the perimeter guards silently. Mira followed Victor and 2 others toward the service entrance, her heart hammering so hard she was sure someone would hear it. The door was rusted but unlocked. Victor went first, gun raised, clearing each corner with deadly precision. Inside, the warehouse was a maze of old equipment and stacked crates. Somewhere deeper in the building, voices echoed, Russian, angry. Victor held up a fist. Everyone stopped. He pointed to himself, then Rosa, and 2 others, then toward the voices. Then he pointed to Mira and a single guard, directing them toward a dark corridor leading right. Mira wanted to protest to stay with the main group, but Victor's expression said this wasn't negotiable. He was splitting their approach, half to engage the Volkovs directly, half to find Adrian from another direction. She nodded and followed her assigned guard into the darkness. The corridor opened into what must have been an old office area. Through a grimy window, Mira could see into the main warehouse floor, and there, tied to a chair under a spotlight, was Adrian. He was alive, bruised and bloodied, but alive. And standing in front of him, holding a phone that was clearly recording, was a man who could only be Dmitry Volkov. Mira pressed against the wall, her guard beside her gesturing for silence. Through the grimy window, she could see everything. Dmitry Volkov was in his 60s, silver-haired and elegant, in an expensive suit that seemed grotesque in the warehouse setting. He circled Adrian like a predator, phone still recording. "Your father thinks he owns the city," Dmitry said in accented English, clearly performing for the camera. "But Victor D'Amato is about to learn what happens when you kill my men, when you disrespect my family." Adrian's head hung forward, but Mira could see his chest rising and falling. Still conscious. Still fighting. "Nothing to say, boy." Dmitry grabbed Adrian's hair, yanking his head up. "No last words for Papa? Go to hell," Adrian rasped. Dmitry laughed and released him. "Brave. Stupid, but brave. Like your father," he checked his watch. "We go live in 5 minutes. Victor is probably tearing the city apart looking for you right now. By the time he figures out where you are, the whole world will have watched you die." Myra's guard was already radioing Victor their position, but quietly, barely a whisper. From somewhere else in the warehouse, she heard shouting, the sound of Victor's team engaging the Volkov's men. "We need to wait for backup," the guard whispered to Mira. But Mira wasn't looking at Dmitry anymore. She was looking at the layout of the warehouse floor, at the old crates stacked haphazardly, at the shadows cast by the single spotlight on Adrian. Behind those crates, barely visible in the darkness, she spotted a gap, a path that led almost directly to where Adrian sat. If someone small enough could slip through. "I can get to him," Mira whispered.
What? No.
"Ma'am," Mr. D'Amato said. "He said keep Adrian calm when we found him." "I can do that," Mira pointed to the gap. "I can get through there, stay in the shadows. When the shooting starts, Adrian's going to panic. He needs someone with him. If they see you." "They won't. They're watching the main entrances, listening for Victor's team. They're not expecting someone to already be inside." The guard looked torn. Gunfire erupted from the far side of the warehouse. Victor's team had made contact. "Go," the guard said finally. "But if I say run, you run. Don't be a hero." Mira didn't feel like a hero. She felt terrified and possibly insane. But she thought of Adrian's laugh in the farmhouse kitchen, of the scared boy who'd begged her not to let them find him. She moved. The crates smelled of mold and rust. Mira squeezed through gaps that scraped her shoulders, stepping carefully to avoid kicking loose debris. The sounds of fighting grew louder, shouts, gunfire, the crash of something heavy falling. Dmitry's attention snapped toward the commotion. "Deal with that," he barked at his men. "I need 3 more minutes." Most of the guards rushed toward the fighting, leaving only 2 with Dmitry and Adrian. Better odds, but still impossible. Mira crept closer. She was maybe 15 feet from Adrian now, hidden behind a stack of wooden pallets. She could see his face clearly, one eye swollen shut, blood from his nose, but alert, aware. Their eyes met. Adrian's visible eye widened in disbelief. Mira pressed a finger to her lips, then pointed to the ropes binding him. She couldn't reach him while the 2 guards remained, but if she could distract them somehow. An explosion rocked the warehouse. The lights flickered. One of the guards stumbled, and Dmitry cursed in Russian. "What was that?" the second guard demanded. "Smoke grenades," Dmitry snarled. "They're trying to flush us out. Get gas masks." Smoke began pouring through vents, thick and gray. Victor's team was creating chaos, using the confusion as cover. This was Myra's chance. Maybe her only one. She grabbed a piece of metal pipe from the floor and threw it hard to her left. It clattered against machinery 20 feet away. Both guards spun toward the sound, guns raised. Dimitri's attention followed. Mira ran. She crossed the open space in seconds, dropping to her knees behind Adrian's chair. Her fingers fumbled with the ropes, pulling at knots while her heart tried to hammer out of her chest. "You're insane," Adrian whispered, his voice shaking with relief and fear. "Tell me about it." The rope finally loosened. "When I say run, you run for those crates behind us. Don't look back." Movement.
One of the guards spotted them.
"Run." Mira shoved Adrian forward as gunfire erupted. She threw herself behind the chair as bullets punched through metal and wood. Adrian scrambled toward the crates. Mira tried to follow, but something burned across her arm, hot and sharp. She gasped, stumbling. Then Victor was there. He emerged from the smoke like an avenging angel, his team flanking him. The two guards went down before they could reload. Dimitri tried to run, but Rosa appeared from another direction, blocking his escape. "On your knees," Victor commanded, his gun pointed at Dimitri's head. The older man smiled even as he knelt. "You'll start a war. The Volkov family will burn this city. Your family dies tonight." Victor's voice was ice. "Every captain, every lieutenant, every soldier who touched my son. I'm going to erase the Volkov name from Chicago." Mira didn't see what happened next. Adrian had crawled back to her, wrapping his arms around her while she pressed her hand to the wound on her arm. It wasn't deep. The bullet had grazed her, but it bled freely. "You came for me," Adrian said, his voice breaking. "You actually came?" "Of course I did, you idiot." Mira managed a shaky laugh. "Did you really think I'd let them hurt you?" Victor appeared beside them, his fury transforming instantly to concern when he saw Myra's blood. "Get her to the medic." Now he looked at Adrian, and something in his expression cracked.
"So?"
Adrian launched himself at his father, 17 years of fear and trauma pouring out. Victor caught him, holding his son like he was afraid he might disappear. "I've got you," Victor said, his voice rough. "I've got you, Adrian. You're safe now." Rosa coordinated the cleanup, while Victor's medic bandaged Myra's arm. The warehouse filled with more of Victor's men, securing prisoners, collecting evidence. "That was the single most reckless thing I've ever witnessed," Victor told Mira, but there was no anger in his voice. Only a grudging respect. "Thank you." "Thank me by ending this," Mira said. "No more attacks. No more danger. Let us go home." Victor looked at Adrian, still shaking in his arms, then back at Mira. "You have my word," he said. "By tomorrow, the Volkov threat will be eliminated. Your family will never be touched again." As they walked out of the warehouse into the cool night air, Mira realized she was still trembling. She'd been shot at, had watched people die, had saved a mob boss's son from execution. Lily was going to kill her. If Victor didn't first. The hospital was private, exclusive, the kind of place that didn't ask questions when Victor D'Amato walked in with blood on his suit. Mira sat in a sterile room while a doctor finished stitching her arm. 12 stitches, antibiotics, and a lecture about how lucky she was the bullet hadn't hit bone. Lily hadn't left her side, hadn't stopped crying since Rosa brought her to the hospital. "I thought you were dead," Lily said for the 10th time, her face pressed against Myra's good shoulder. When Rosa got that call when she said there was shooting. "I'm okay, baby. I promise." Mira stroked her daughter's hair, trying to calm her own racing heart. "It's over now." But was it? Through the room's small window, she could see Victor pacing the hallway, phone pressed to his ear. His face was stone again, all business. Whatever he was planning, it involved a lot of terse commands and people jumping to obey. Adrian sat in a wheelchair nearby, despite insisting he could walk. The doctors wanted to monitor him for concussion symptoms, but he'd refused to be separated from the hallway where his father was. Every few minutes, Victor would glance through the window, checking that his son was still there. A nurse knocked and entered. Mrs. Chen, you're cleared to go home. Just keep the wound clean and dry. Follow up with your regular doctor in a week. Home. The word felt foreign.
Thank you, Mira managed.
They found Victor waiting in the hallway. Adrian had fallen asleep in his wheelchair, exhaustion finally claiming him. He hasn't slept more than an hour at a time since this started, Victor said quietly, looking at his son with an expression Mira had never seen before, raw vulnerability. Even at the safe house, he kept waking up from nightmares.
He's been carrying a lot, Mira said. Yes.
He has. Victor turned to face her fully. Mrs. Chen, Mira, what you did tonight. There are no words. You risked your life for my son. Again. Anyone would have.
No.
They wouldn't have. Victor's voice was firm. Most people would have run the moment they learned who we were. You stayed. You protected him. You saved him. He paused. I'm in your debt. Name your price. I don't want money. Then what? A new cafe location? Protection? Anything. Mira looked at Lily, then at sleeping Adrian, then back at Victor. I want you to let him be a kid sometimes. Not just your heir or your responsibility, just Adrian. The boy who burns cookies and is terrible at algebra. He needs that. Victor was quiet for a long moment. That's what you want? For my son. That's what I want. You're remarkable, you know that? Victor almost smiled. Most people ask for money, power, favors. You ask for my son's happiness. Well, someone has to. This time Victor did smile. Brief, but genuine. The Volkov situation will be resolved by morning. I've already made the necessary arrangements. By noon tomorrow, every remaining member of their organization will either be dead or fleeing the country, he said it matter-of-factly, like discussing weather. Your family will never be threatened again. You have my word, and in my world, that means something. I believe you, Mira said, and realized she did. However, Victor's tone shifted. Your cafe is known now. The Volkovs came there, my men were seen there. Other crews might see you as a way to get to me, to Adrian. I can't in good conscience let you return to that location without protection. Myra's heart sank. So, what are you saying? I'm saying I've purchased the building 2 blocks north on Maple Street. It's larger, better location, better foot traffic. I'm having it renovated to your specifications, whatever equipment you need, whatever design you want. It'll be ready in 3 weeks. He held up a hand before she could protest. The deed will be in your name.
Nostrines.
Think of it as me protecting my investment, because Adrian isn't going to accept never seeing you again. As if on cue, Adrian stirred in his wheelchair, blinking awake. When he saw them all standing there, relief flooded his face. You're still here, he said to Mira. Still here. Good, he looked at his father. Dad, can they stay? Just for tonight? I don't want, his voice cracked. I don't want to be alone. The request clearly surprised Victor, but he nodded. Of course. We're going to the estate. There's plenty of room. Actually, Mira said carefully, could we just go somewhere normal? A hotel, maybe? No guards in every hallway, no bulletproof windows. Just normal. Victor looked like she'd asked him to fly to the moon. Normal.
Yeah.
Order room service. Watch bad TV. Let the kids decompress without feeling like they're in a fortress. That sounds amazing, Adrian said quietly. Victor studied them. This small family that had somehow infiltrated his world and turned everything upside down. Finally, he nodded. The Fairmont.
Présidentielle suite.
I'll have Rosa arrange it, he looked at Adrian. But I'm staying too, and there will be guards in the lobby. Deal, Adrian said quickly, before his father could change his mind. The hotel room was obscenely large, 3 bedrooms, a living room, a view of Lake Michigan that probably cost more per night than Mira made in a month. Room service brought enough food for 10 people. Victor made calls from one bedroom while Adrian and Lily claimed the living room, flipping through channels. Mira stood at the window, watching the city lights reflect off the dark water. Her arm throbbed.
Her whole body ached.
But they were alive. Mom, Lily appeared beside her. Are we really getting a new cafe? Apparently. And Adrian can visit. I think we'd have a hard time stopping him. Lily smiled, the first real smile since this nightmare began. Good. He still owes me $50. We bet on who could fold more dumplings, and I totally won. From the couch, Adrian called out, "That bet was rigged. You had professional training." Being raised in a bakery isn't professional training, it's child labor. Their bickering felt wonderfully, perfectly normal. Victor emerged from his room, jacket off, looking more human than Mira had ever seen him. He poured himself a drink and joined her at the window. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for giving him this moment of normal.
He deserves it." "Yes."
"He does." Victor took a sip of his drink. "You've changed things, Mira-chan. Changed him. Changed me, maybe. Made me remember what I built this empire for in the first place. To provide for your family, to protect them. But somewhere along the way, I forgot that protection isn't just about walls and guns. It's about," he gestured toward Adrian and Lily, now arguing about pizza toppings.
"This."
"Safety to just be a kid." "It's not too late," Mira said.
"To give him more of this." Victor nodded slowly. "No."
"I suppose it's not." They stood in comfortable silence, watching their children, because in this moment, that's what they were, just children, laugh and argue and be young. Tomorrow would bring cleanup, questions, the reality of returning to their separate worlds. But tonight, they were just people, grateful to be alive, grateful to be together. And sometimes that was enough. 1 week later, Mira stood in front of her new cafe, keys in hand. The building Victor had purchased was everything he'd promised and more: corner location with huge windows, exposed brick walls, modern equipment that made her old setup look like toys. The sign above the door read "Sweet Haven" in elegant copper letters, but somehow it felt both familiar and completely new. "Mom, the espresso machine has a steam wand," Lily called from inside. "An actual professional one." Mira smiled, pocketing the keys. The renovation crew had finished yesterday, working around the clock to meet Victor's aggressive timeline. She'd been involved in every decision: paint colors, flooring, the layout of the kitchen, but Victor's money had made the impossible happen in days instead of months. "Are you going to stand out here all day, or actually go inside your cafe?" Mira turned to find Adrian climbing out of a black car, a woman in her 30s accompanying him. Not a guard. Her body language was too relaxed, too casual. "Adrian, I didn't know you were coming today. Grand opening, right?" Couldn't miss it. He looked healthier than he had a week ago. The bruises faded to yellow, the haunted look in his eyes replaced by something cautiously hopeful. "This is Dr. Reeves, my therapist." "Nice to meet you," Dr. Reeves said warmly. "Adrian's been telling me about your bakery. He's excited to help with the opening." "You're in therapy?" Mira asked, pleased. Adrian shrugged, looking embarrassed. "Dad insisted. After everything. He said I should talk to someone. Dr. Reeves is cool though. She doesn't treat me like I'm crazy." "Because you're not crazy," Dr. Reeves said gently. "You experienced trauma. There's a difference. Now, I'll give you some time with your friends. Remember what we talked about. Stay present. Don't push yourself too hard." She walked back to the car, giving them space but staying close. "So," Adrian gestured at the cafe, "can I see inside or what?" They entered together, and Mira watched Adrian take it all in: the open kitchen where customers could watch bakers work, the cozy seating areas, the display cases already stocked with pastries she'd made at 5 a.m. "This is incredible," Adrian said softly. "Way better than the old place." "Different," Mira corrected. "The old place had character. This one just has potential." Lily emerged from the kitchen, flour already somehow in her hair despite them not officially opening yet. "Adrian, come see the industrial mixer. It's huge." They disappeared into the back, their voices fading into excited chatter. Mira followed slowly, savoring this moment. Her daughter safe, her business reborn, Adrian alive and healing. The bell above the door chimed. Victor entered, and Mira couldn't help but notice he looked different too, still powerful, still dangerous, but softer somehow. He carried a bouquet of flowers and a bottle of wine. "For the opening," he said, almost shyly. "The wine is for later. I assume you'll be too busy to drink it now." "Thank you. You didn't have to come." "Yes, I did." Victor set the gifts on the counter. Adrian insisted. "And truthfully, I wanted to see this place. See what we built." "What you paid for, you mean?" "What we built," Victor repeated firmly. "You designed it, chose every detail. I just provided the resources. There's a difference." From the kitchen, they heard Adrian laugh, full and genuine, the sound of a teenager who'd forgotten, just for a moment, about kidnappings and betrayals and war. "The Volkov situation?" Mira asked quietly. "Handled. Dmitri is dead. His lieutenants have scattered. Those who survived. The ones who remain know better than to come near my family or anyone connected to it." Victor's voice hardened slightly. "Word has spread. You and your daughter are under D'Amato protection. No one in this city will touch you." "Is that supposed to be comforting?" "It's supposed to be true." Victor's expression softened. "But I understand if you don't want Adrian around. If this," he gestured at the cafe, "is your line, I'll respect that." Mira thought about it. About the danger, the fear, the bullet graze on her arm that still ached. About everything that had happened because she'd pulled a bleeding boy out of an alley. Then she thought about Adrian teaching Lily to fold dumplings at the safe house. About his laugh when he successfully cracked an egg. About the way he looked at her sometimes, like she was the mother he'd lost, the safety he'd never known.
"He can visit," Mira said.
"But there are rules."
"No business talk in my cafe."
"No guns, no guards inside. They can wait outside like Dr. Reeves. And when he's here, he's just Adrian. Not your heir, not a target. Just a kid who likes burnt cookies and is terrible at algebra." Victor's throat worked. "You're giving him something I never could. I'm giving him what every kid deserves. You can do it too, you know. Be his father instead of his boss sometimes." "I'm trying," Victor said quietly. "The therapy was her idea." He nodded toward Dr. Reeves outside. "But I made sure he went. And last night, we ordered pizza and watched a baseball game. Just the two of us. No interruptions." "That's a start." "It is, isn't it?" Victor smiled, genuine and almost boyish. "Thank you, Mira. For saving him. For saving both of us, really." Before Mira could respond, Adrian and Lily burst back into the front, arguing about optimal croissant lamination techniques. "Mom, tell him you need to fold it 3 times, not 4. 4 makes it flakier. 4 makes it tough. Back me up here." Mira laughed, the sound surprising her. "I'll teach you both properly. Together. But first, we have a cafe to open." The next few hours were chaos, the best kind. Customers poured in, drawn by the new location and word of mouth. Adrian worked the register with surprising competence, chatting easily with customers who had no idea who he really was. Lily managed the pastry display, keeping everything stocked and beautiful. Victor stayed in the background, watching his son interact with normal people doing normal things, and Mira could see the wonder in his eyes. By noon, they'd sold out of everything. "This is amazing." Lily collapsed into a chair, exhausted and happy. "Mom, we're actually going to make it." "Yeah," Mira agreed, looking around her new cafe, at her daughter, at Adrian wiping down tables like any teenage employee, at Victor quietly taking in this world so different from his own. "I think we are." Adrian approached as they were cleaning up, Dr. Reeves having come inside to signal it was time to leave. "Can I come back tomorrow?" he asked, almost shyly. "Help with the morning rush? You want to wake up at 5 a.m. to bake bread?" "I want to," Adrian searched for words. "I want to have somewhere that's just normal. Where I'm not Victor D'Amato's son, or a target, or a complication. Just Adrian, who's learning to bake and kind of sucks at it but is getting better." Mira pulled him into a hug. "Tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. sharp. Don't be late." "I won't." Victor shook Myra's hand at the door, formal, respectful. "We'll see you tomorrow then." Same time. And Victor? Mira held his gaze. Thank you. For all of this. For trusting me with him. Thank you for giving me a reason to be more than what I became. They left, Adrian waving through the car window until they turned the corner. Mira locked the door and flipped the sign to closed, exhaustion settling into her bones. Her arm ached. Her feet hurt. She had flour in places flour shouldn't be. Best opening day ever, Lily declared. Yeah, Mira agreed, looking around the cafe that rose from the ashes of their old life. It really was. They climbed the stairs to the apartment above, another gift from Victor, larger and brighter than their old place. As Mira tucked Lily into bed that night, her daughter mumbled sleepily, "We're okay now, right? Like, really okay." "Really okay," Mira confirmed, kissing her forehead. Outside, the city hummed with life, some of it beautiful, some of it dark, all of it complicated. Victor D'Amato would continue running his empire. The D'Amato name would still inspire fear in certain circles. But in a corner cafe on Maple Street, a single mom had built something different. A place where a mob boss's son could laugh and burn cookies. Where normal existed despite everything. Where three unlikely people had found something none of them expected: family. Not by blood or obligation, but by choice. And sometimes, Mira thought as she turned off the lights, that was the strongest kind of family there was. The kind you protect. The kind worth saving. The kind that saves you right back.